So let's roll through this. I did introduce who we were, and Claire introduced herself. So thanks for that. I want to let you know, Claire has been with us. She just passed 8 years, and we would not be a company, I swear to you, without Claire. There are certain people along the way that make life possible. And this gal has made it possible for me and for the company. So thank you, Claire. Happy 8th anniversary and to 18 more. Okay, so next, let me see if I can get it to do it. So MenuTrinfo is a company that does allergy training, kitchen audits, nutrition labeling, and now certified free from. If you want me to dig into any of those, I'll do it offline. I'm going to take a couple minutes back from a couple of these slides. This is one of them. Okay, so we started certifying kitchens as free from different allergens, and I'll tell you how we got into that. But now we're starting to do products, and that's what led us back to Jen, and that's what led me to tell Jen, hey, this is what we're doing. I'd love to share it with you. Maybe some of your folks are going to be interested. And so what you see on the left side of your screen are some of the brands that have either finished being certified by us or are in process. Like Red Plate Foods, we're going to their location in September. And be able to finish up with their accreditation. Smarty Pants, we just went international with them and announced that last week. So it's wonderful to have people believe in our mission and get on board with us early on. So I thank them, and now I thank you all for joining us today. We did start with accreditation in 2017. As you can see on the left side, Cornell Dining, that's the cover of their audit. I just swiped it, copied and pasted their cover. We were approached by Cornell in 2016 to see if we would certify their dining hall as free from peanut, tree nut, and gluten. We had been doing it for a couple of years with FAIR, the nonprofit, but they were not comfortable putting our certification seal up or theirs. They just wanted to help colleges do the right thing, but not be able to blast that out. When Cornell came to us, they've been using AllerTrain, our training program, for years, and said, would you do this? I was like, sure, let's do it. So we launched with Cornell January 1st of 2017. And here are just a few of our colleges that we deal with and get on our certified products, or excuse me, certified location. So this map you see in front of you, every state that is gray has a location that is certified free from. We also do have somebody in California that likes to remain private, which is fine. And we have somebody in Washington State, which people have to give us permission for. We tell people they're there, but that's all good. And this is either a location of a dining facility or a section of a dining facility in college universities that are free from. And this map can be found on our KwC website. A lot of people use that to figure out where kids are going to college. So let's talk for a second about gluten-free. There's lots of existing gluten-free certifications. There's a bunch. There's like 6 different entities that do certified gluten-free. There's the leader, that black and white one, the certified gluten-free, which that logo is actually changing now, but that is the gold standard. I will tell you what, that woman that started that company, hats off, mazel tov, nothing but props for her. She really was in front of it. She really went deep in making sure her scheme was on point, and her certification carried a seriously significant punch. And I give her a lot of kudos for that. We can tell you firsthand what it's like to do this from ground up. We're going to tell you some of that today. It is not for the weak of heart, let me tell you. So good for her. She's got a great business certifying gluten-free. We do certify gluten-free, but we do it while we're in there doing the allergens. It's not our main mission. It's not our main point. And nothing but respect for the folks that have been doing it way before us. When we look at other existing certifications out there, here's just a few, but these are by far the most popular right now. The certified vegan, by the way, it's never in pink. I just needed to make it show up on this screen. It's actually in white and then it takes on the color behind it. But I was PowerPoint challenged today. I'm sure y'all can relate. Somebody out there can relate to that feeling. So I went with pink. But vegan is a super popular certification today, as is GMO, keto, and paleo. it's interesting to watch as the new things come and go, and what people are interested in being certified from. So consumer packaged goods are screaming for transparency. You know, they don't even want to, well, the consumer really appreciates it when you write dairy-free on there, but they're not necessarily trusting you. They're still flipping the package. They're still reading the label. I think people are always going to read labels, but there's a lot of skepticism, especially in this space, when a tiny morsel can mean the difference between life and death. So I respect the skepticism, but I really wanted to go set about doing something different for that. And that's what brought us here with products. We were using these seals, as you see, in dining areas. And then people started reaching out and saying, can we put your seal on our sweet potato fries? Because all we have in our building is sweet potato fries, a little oil and a little salt. And the building is huge, and all we make are sweet potato fries. Heads up, Trinity, they're absolutely right. That's all they make is sweet potato fries. Might be the nicest people you guys have ever met. Oh my gosh, he's wonderful. And I'm like, sure, we could put it on your product. Well, that's how this was born. You know, I say yes, and Claire and I try to figure out how to do it, and Claire doesn't sleep for months. I mean, that's what we're doing. You know, we're going, okay, let's let the consumer know what the college students wanted to know. So the next 3 slides will just show you our seals. So we've got the big 8, which are free from all those 8 allergens. We've got 6 of the big 8, because sometimes you might have soy or you might have egg. And it very much is a Trivial Pursuit piece. So if anybody sees and recognizes that from game days, that's where we got it from. And actually, I'd love to tell you I was smart enough to have come up with this. I wasn't. It was a food allergy mom that came up with this great idea. So that is great, but when we're just doing 1 or 2 or maybe even 3 allergens, they hide on the seal. So we're moving towards, as long as it stays certified free from and CFF in the middle, we can do 1 or 2 allergens, and it shows it much nicer in these type of seals. You can read it and see it clearer and better. People ask, what colors can you do with the seals? You can do any color you want, as long as you don't change a number of things with the seals. And that's this. You can't change the font we use. You can't change the seal layout, only we can change that. You can't change out your icons, because maybe you like that peanut or that peanut. You know, it doesn't, we get to make that choice. You cannot change how we name the allergen. The USDA is who dictated that for us, folks, and we follow right along with what they've told us. And you can't change the company responsibility statement at the bottom where it says Kitchens with Confidence by MenuTrinfo. I am working to try to get that removed from USDA, and getting permission to get that removed, because some of the other seals don't require that, but they made us require that. So we may or may not be able to make that disappear, but you can't put your company name in there. So that is what can and what cannot be changed. Claire, I'm going to hand it over to you and silent myself so that you can go on here and just tell me next when you're ready.
Okay, great. So I got some feedback during my introduction that I was a little quiet, so I just cranked up the sensitivity on my microphone. So hopefully I'm not bursting any eardrums right now.
Not at all. Keep going, girl. You're good.
So the certified free from audit, it's a multi-step process that comes down to us checking the ingredients that you're using and what's going on in your facility to make sure that we have the confidence to give you the seal and you have the confidence to put that seal on your package and make that claim for your consumers. So the very first step of the CFF audit is, lo and behold, contact us, reach out to us for a conversation. And this is where we want to learn as much about your company as we can, because all of these different nuances impact the way that we certify. It impacts the things that we look for in the audit. There might be some additional work before we even visit your facility. But the types of questions that we'll chat about, first and foremost, we'll want to know which allergens you're looking to be certified free from. So like Betsy mentioned, any of the top 8 and or gluten are the ones that we can look for. We also want to know how many facilities are involved in your manufacturing process. So are you having your formulations made in Japan and then they're shipped to the US to be turned into some sort of capsule, and then that capsule is sent out to be packaged in a different facility, because we'll want to track the product through each of those steps and make sure that we're conducting the audits in the right points to make sure that you're truly serving a free from product. We'll want to know what other certifications that you have. We are working through getting our standards up to ANSI standards, which is no small feat, and we'll talk more about that in a couple of slides. But there are certifications out there that have absolutely gone through the ringer, are the gold standard for what to look for. Holy cow, if you pass this audit, you're amazing. So we'll want to know about those certifications, because that can help check some of our boxes, knowing that you've already been through this process with others. And then finally, we want to know what your timeline is. So if you're kind of new to this, you're exploring the certified free from realm, if you are ready to certify tomorrow, which is something that we have done. We've hopped on a plane, we've certified within 48 hours. We just want to know what you're looking for there. Next slide. So once we have our initial interview, then we go through our pre-audit review. And this isn't the audit itself, so we aren't checking boxes. This is just making sure that when we do send out the auditor to your facility, that you're not going to fail, because that's not really good business. So during the pre-audit review, the biggest part of this is the ingredient review. So we'll take all of your specs for all of the ingredients that you're using, and we will go through a process to make sure that they are truly free from your allergens, whichever ones you've selected for your seal. And we do this for a number of reasons. Obviously, if you're bringing in products to your facility that are not free from the allergens, how in the world are you creating a free from product? So this is something we take really seriously. If there's any sort of precautionary labeling, so like the may contain, produced in a facility with, any of those statements that I'm sure drive you all nuts, they drive us nuts. We always check on those to see if it's just a cover your rear type of statement, or if there's truly the possibility of cross contact, or they don't have their supply chain down, and there's the possibility that certain ingredients may be derived from certain allergens. So we reach out to the manufacturer for all of that. And you'll see that there's a lot of documentation involved in the certified free from audit. And this is just building this incredible safety net for you and for your consumers, that you truly are serving a product that's free from top 8 allergens and or gluten, because it really is a life or death situation. So once we've, the pre-audit review, sorry, Betsy, we, addition to your ingredients, a smaller part is just making sure that you have standard operating procedures for cleaning, for training, for making sure that your staff knows exactly how to make these products, and that they're doing it the same way every single time. Next slide.
Sorry about that, Claire.
Oh,
that was my bad.
All right. So the next step, once we've gone through the pre-audit, your ingredients are good, you have your documentation in place, then this is when we send out the big guns, and we send an auditor to your facility, and they are there as an investigator. They are there to gather as much evidence as they can. They'll take pictures, they'll talk with employees, they'll review training records. This is just amazing. I don't know how our auditors do it. I'll get reports back from them and just be baffled at how they even notice the smallest little thing. So they take their job very seriously, because they certainly know the ramifications of not doing the most in-depth check that they possibly can. So part of this on-site audit, this is where we start checking boxes, and we compare everything against our standards and make sure that, okay, we already know that the products you're bringing into your facility are certified free from, and we approve the processes that you have in your facility to take those approved ingredients and transform them into your CFF product. Next slide. The final review, this is when everything comes back to our office. the auditor who's at your facility, they send us all of that wonderful evidence that they gathered. So all the pictures from the facility, what the employee said, training records, all of that. And we have a reviewer on our team who looks through all of that, and they compare it against our standards and decide, is this enough evidence to prove that they're meeting this, or could they do a little bit better? And during that final review, that's when we come up with those nonconformities, which nobody enjoys. But there are major nonconformities and minor. And the big difference between those two is there potential for harm to someone by not meeting a certain standard? If so, then absolutely that's a major issue. And anything minor would just be, what can you do to take your processes to the next level? How do we think you can improve on certain practices? All those types of things that would really button up your certified free from program. So once all of the nonconformities are taken care of and we receive evidence that those have been taken care of, that's when we send out the final report to the client. So it gives a really great overview of not only things that we suggested to change, but also all of the things that you were doing really well and that our auditors took serious note of while they were at your facility. And once the final report is done, that's when the certification goes out. You get a nice certificate in the mail with our seal, certified free from, whichever of the allergens you've selected. And that's when you can start using the seal on your packages with those guidelines that Betsy mentioned earlier. Next slide. And after this final report, the certification is sent. You can't get rid of us that easily. We stick around. There's ongoing surveillance. This includes tests every month or possibly more, depending on what your facility is like. If you have allergens in your facility, that certainly impacts how often we require testing. And this is done, like I said, at a minimum monthly. And then quarterly, we collect a little more detailed report that checks for new ingredients, it checks for new policies or procedures. Maybe there's a QA person who's been on your team for 20 years and they decide to retire and you hire someone new. Those are the types of big events that we'll want to know about and just make sure that everything is still aligning with your initial audit. And then once a year, we come out to your facility and we complete a recertification, which is the initial audit junior. We just make sure that nothing has changed from the year before and that we're still comfortable providing you with our seal and that you're still doing the best job possible to create a truly certified free from product. Next slide, Betsy. And speaking of testing, this chart shows the testing thresholds of the test kits that we approve, or I should say one of the test kits that we approve. You can see that it's a qualitative test opposed to a quantitative test. So the easiest thing to compare this to is a pregnancy test. Either a line is there or it's not. If it's above or below that certain threshold. And I mean, these are extremely low amounts, but the test kits out there just keep getting better and better and more sensitive. So as the test kits improve, we update our standards and our requirements for testing to make sure that we are in line with the industry best out there. Next slide, Betsy. No.
And I think this is where I take it back, Claire.
Yes.
So talking about the current regulations, everybody knows 20 ppm is what the gluten-free, what the FDA put in for the standard on anything to be labeled 100% gluten-free. It has to be 20 ppm or less. We do have tests that go below that, which is our personal company threshold. But 20 ppm is the FDA's. What's our ppm, Claire, on gluten? Can you remember off the top of your head?
We're at 10.
Okay, I thought so, because that's what we can test to. As testing becomes available even less than that, we will tighten up our standards to meet those needs, just letting folks know. Allergen legislation, of course, we have FALSFA, which tells us the allergens have to be listed on the label. However, it's interesting because we're waiting for USDA to tell us, or FDA to tell us, to add sesame. It's interesting because in Illinois, they're asking for sesame to be called out. It's the only place in the country right now that is. And I did notice that FAIR has been starting to use top allergens, not 8. They've been saying the top allergens and started adding sesame on their website. I haven't seen what FACT is doing. I haven't seen that on FACT's website. Those are the two big nonprofits when it comes to food allergies here in our country. But I do want to let folks know, people ask us regularly, what gives us the authority? What gives you the authority to do this? And I will tell you flat out, prior to 2016, only experience. Like nobody's came in and said, you have the authority. And then we have people going, why isn't FDA doing it? Why isn't USDA doing it? Because, and I'll tell you, this is not a claim that they would pick up and do. They leave this up to private sector, as I discovered in 2016 when I approached USDA on this. I went through the process of reaching out to, I can picture the man like he's sitting next to me right now, because I was terrified when I was talking to him, but I'm really excited. I was like, can we do this? Are you guys going to do this? People need this. They need this information. And I showed him what we had as our seal at the time. I almost wish I had a copy of it because it's so different than what we're looking at on the screen. And he said, we're never going to do it. You can totally do it, but here's what you need, because right now your seal isn't in compliance with what we would really come at you. We didn't have our name. We only had icons. We didn't have the words written out. We didn't talk about what the seal represented, all of that. So we tweaked it and updated it, and now we are there. So FDA has no certification of this kind, nor does USDA. And folks like GFCO, GFCP, NSF are gluten only, and to the very best of our knowledge, they're not going through this scheming to go ahead and do the next level of where we're going. Claire, I'm bopping to you for 2 more slides, and folks, we'll jump into questions here. You can shoot me your questions if you want. I'll get to the chat towards the end. We have about 9 more slides to get through. Go for it, Claire.
Okay. So the CFF program, our certification program, we have been working through taking our current standards, updating them, going through this big revision process. And then while we were going through that, we realized, hey, some of these companies are ANSI accredited. And if any of you aren't familiar with ANSI, it's now ANSI, ANAB, A-N-A-B. It's the ANSI National Accreditation Board, and they are the largest accreditation agency in the Western Hemisphere. There's over 2,500 different companies that have some sort of ANSI accreditation, and it's just putting the gold standard seal on your service, your product, whatever you're offering. So we have a lot of experience with ANSI through our training programs. Allertrain and Food Handler, we both have been through ANSI accreditation. And there's an ISO standard called 17065, and this accredits certifying bodies. So anyone who goes out there and certifies a product, a service, they can be certified through ANSI, they can be accredited through ANSI as a certifying body. And accreditation is really important for us, for our program. It's also important for clients, and then important for consumers, because it really is like a third-party audit of the third-party audit. So they're checking over everything that has to do with our certification program. Some of the benefits of accreditation, first and foremost, it affirms our competence in what we're doing. So no one else on the market has a seal like ours. So we're really setting ourselves up as the subject matter expert in certified free from allergen products. It shows that we know the value in our service. I don't know if any one of you is familiar with the ANSI accreditation process, but it is no small feat. Betsy mentioned earlier that it's not for the faint of heart, and that is literally what the ANSI auditor told me when I took the course on this certain ISO standard. That's how they started out the program. So if we weren't serious about this, if we didn't know the potential, we wouldn't be putting ourselves through this. We aren't that sick and twisted. It also,
most days we're not sick and twisted.
it shows consumers out there the credibility of the seal. So we're not just slapping something on there for marketing purposes. This has been vetted by us, vetted by ANSI. They're very thorough in their reviews. We definitely learned some things from them from our training program accreditation. And then it also helps with continual improvement. So there is no chance of our program becoming stagnant. We are always changing, always improving, and that's obviously evolving with the food service world that we're in, of course, but then also with ANSI behind us, ANSI looking over our shoulder. Of course, we want to make sure that we're doing all of the things that they require, and as they update their standards for certifying bodies, that we are matching those standards. And Betsy, can I actually go to the next slide?
Sure. Let's see if I can remember how. Sorry. There we go.
So as far as what's next for CFF, we are already down this path with ANSI, but first and foremost, they're going to review our certification scheme and standards, and they check that over for suitability. So ANSI will never accredit the scheme. If someone ever tells you a scheme is accredited, you can wag your finger in their face and say, no way. They only ever accredit a certifying body, and then the certifying bodies through kind of the back door, that's how the schemes get reviewed by ANSI. So they'll make sure that all of that is in place. We have our standards committee. They're going to review any comments that we get during our upcoming comment period. So we want to make sure that any changes that we're making, we take our clients' feedback into consideration if they have concerns over the changes, or potential clients, consumers who are looking for certified allergen-free options. We want to make sure that we're checking all of their boxes and making sure that they're happy with what we're changing in the program. We'll continue to go through the accreditation process. So that involves lots of documentation, lots of meetings with ANSI, just making sure that that ISO standard that I mentioned earlier, that we're fulfilling all of those requirements. And through all of this, we'll keep continuing to improve the lives of consumers. We want the seal, when someone sees our CFF seal on a product, we really want that to instill confidence that they're taking home a safe product for their families. And that's the number one most important thing for us.
Sorry about that, Claire.
Oh, you're fine.
Trying to click out of a chat box. So thank you, whoever put the question there. I can't read it yet, but I'll get there in a sec. So were you done? Did I cut you off?
Yes, I'm done.
Okay, cool. So 32 million Americans have food allergies. This is not news to folks on this call, but as we're looking, the last couple slides are all about the market, about why it makes sense to speak to this market, although it's sort of preaching to the choir because y'all are already in this market. You're in it to win it. So 85 million Americans avoid purchasing food with some or all of the top 8, soon to be the top 9 allergens. And it really does end up being 85 million consumers that are looking for products, and they're spending $19 billion on food annually in this space. So we're seeing it be a massive, massive space. I'll also let you know that we're seeing it across college campuses. We're seeing it across B&I accounts. Allertrain, MenuTrinfo, and Kitchens with Confidence have been involved in putting together lists and products that can be served in these locations on these campuses and some of these B&I accounts. And this is going to skyrocket over the next couple of years. So if you are currently making like the best granola in the world that's allergy free, you darn sure should be getting it certified, in my opinion. But you really should be making it in huge batches, you know, in 5-pound bags that we can sell 4 bags to a case and ship it all over the country for college campuses and B&I, you know, big commercial accounts. We will get to circle up again. We will get to be in each other's presence, and being ready for this segment of the market makes a lot of sense, especially now when we have time to do a little bit of regrouping. So understanding the free from shopper, it blew me away when I saw this a study that was done a few years back where they were talking about more than half of all gluten-free consumers also need it free from a different allergen. Dairy, by the way, is the most popular one, but they're looking for gluten-free and we call it the ANDA certification. Driving your revenue is absolutely what we're looking to help do, because folks they get so loyal to your brands, and looking for third-party certification. Consumers answered saying up to 76% of the people surveyed, it was 5,000 people that were surveyed, 76% said they look for a certification, any certification. They want confirmation that their purchase is going to be the right one for them. And we're seeing this more and more too since COVID. It's pretty amazing. So the last two slides I want to talk on have to do with other certifications. It's just what we've seen happen once the certifications are out there and the industry and the markets grow. And Jen certainly has seen it with her business, but and it goes from, you know, being a good idea to being, you know, explosive to millions of people. This global market growth that you're seeing here in these cute little pots, this has to do with the vegan market. So this was done in 2017. When they looked back, they saw it was 1.7 billion, then it was 11 billion. This year, it's expected to be right around 20 billion. They did 20 plus, and we're over 20 this year in 2020 on how many people are eating vegan and what that market space looks like. But in 2025, they're still expecting it to add another 10 billion between now and the next 5 years from now. It's pretty amazing how that growth is happening. Specialty foods, special request foods. And then I thought I'd end with this. This is a study that was done by FAIR, Food Allergy Research and Education, where they found 1 out of 4 American consumers will buy products that are free from some or all of the top 9 here. They're getting me to start saying it already, food allergies. And this research is really amazing to see that people stand in a grocery store aisle for 3 to 5 minutes per product. I had a really great conversation with a gal at Kroger the other day, about a week ago. She's in charge of regulatory for all of Kroger grocery stores, and wonderful, wonderful woman. And we started talking, and she said they've got shelf tags that say gluten-free. And she and I were having discussions about putting shelf tags out there that say nut-free or peanut-free or tree nut-free, and going and using the seal on shelf tags so that people could understand what's there. Consumers are spending tons of time in the store, and the grocery store makes money when they can deliver confidence to their consumers, deliver confidence to their customers, and provide great information. We are seeing this throughout the restaurant industry, that folks are just more and more in fear. We need more confidence. So let me see if I can figure out how to shrink down the screen. And let me do that. And I do see that we have one question here, so we'll take that. You can